Alright, what's up guys, and welcome to this very special video, you could say. So, in celebration of Total War Warhammer 2 finishing its development cycle, I am going to be posting my own tier list of all of the Legendary Lords campaign. So, a few disclaimers. First of all, I'm going to be ranking them strictly according to their campaign, so no multiplayer matches or anything taken into account. No taking into account if the value of the DLC is worth it, the monetary value or whatever, or the pairing lords, or whatever of that sort. I am also only going to be ranking the Mortal Empires campaign because that's the campaign that has all of the legendary lords, so it's kind of the point of comparison. Also because I do not play the Vortex that much. I did play it, but not that much. And I'm also not going to be ranking them according to their Total War Warhammer 1 campaign. I might mention, and it will happen, that the campaign was much better in the first game than in the second game. It is some lords, that's the case, but I'm not gonna be taking that into account for the rank. Let's go quickly over the tiers. So S tiers, there's really not gonna be a lot of campaign into it. It's probably 2 or 3. It's really the campaign I replay a lot, or that I'm going to replay a lot, that I enjoy a ton, that have my favorite units, my favorite moments, that have a good flow, whatever. A tier are super solid campaign that I do replay often, and they are just missing that one notch that don't make them the very best of the best, but they're still like super good. B tier for me is like straight good campaigns. I replay them often. I've played them more than once, more likely, but that's it. Nothing exceptional, but they're good. C tier is where I start like, either they're missing some campaign mechanics or something's lacking, so they're not perfect, but they're still like, it's still Total War, keep that in mind guys, it's still an amazing game, so there's that. D tier, now we're getting into the campaign that definitely have something that doesn't work well. Like, there's something I don't like, I'm not enjoying in the campaign, or that makes it become a chore. And F tier is the unplayable campaigns that I think they're so broken or so unfun that like they don't deserve to be anywhere near to be played by anyone except for achievements hunting, and they need to be fixed. So that's the tiers. All right, now without further ado, let's right away get started with our first legendary lord. Boom! It's Karl Franz of the Empire. So, the Empire is one of my favorite factions, so I'll say it right now. I'd say top 3 or 4 easily. I really like the Empire because they're so diverse. They got everything except monstrous units, and even then you could say demigryphs are, but still, they are easily one of my favorite factions. And the Emperor is a super solid campaign. He starts in the middle of in a really good spot in the map to get a lot of actions. You can be fighting vampires, Norse god, orcs, chaos. There's so many possibilities. With the new electric count, machinations, things, and imperial authority, you got plenty of cool mechanics to deal with and encourage. It's fun to have to defend settlements from Skaven and Beastmen invasions and helping out your electric counts, and then you start moving the map around and there's all the politic. It's a damn solid campaign, and I would say he's really a good contender if you wanna, like, when you play Total War for the first time, try the Karl Franz. It's a solid campaign. Now his campaign mechanics here, he has what I call the king attribute. So every faction has a king character that has diplomatic relation with your faction, upgrade reduction on some units, some leadership, and movement. That's the classic king faction effects, which are fine. They just make your campaign easier because they're pretty good. but you'll see they get copy paste a lot. His starting units are nothing to be impressed. Handgunners are pretty fun. A Race Guard are okay, I guess. His Lord effect is boring but useful, because when you're a new player, especially new to the franchise, you don't handle leadership well at all. So having this buff to all your army just makes it so you don't get punished by lack of leadership and like missing out, not too understanding that mechanic too much. All that being said, this is a solid campaign, and so if we go into our tier list, I'm going to be putting Conference into a solid A. Great start for the Emperor. Really good, solid A. Cool. Next up is Vogmar the Grim. So, Vogmar the Grim is basically the same campaign, but less interesting to me because I don't like his bonuses as much, and I'll explain why. So, same start position, same everything, except here, this little window here. So the starting units, the Knights of the Blazing Sun are cool, but the Flagellants, I don't like those types of units. So if you do like Flagellants, then feel free to rank this campaign up more. But I do not like the units that they kind of force you to go down through, which are Flagellants. And I'm really happy that with the update, the Free Company Militias are even better now. That's pretty cool. But also, he has a buff to heroes, which is fine, but witch hunters especially, and warrior priests in a way, there are a lot of their agents, like they're good campaign heroes, and that's never been my thing. I don't like using agents that much. Magic item drop chance, you kind of don't notice it, and I'm not the kind of guy that like takes a while to pimp out his heroes. That's not my part. And that's what the great part about Total War is, there's so many playstyles, right? But that's simply not my playstyle. So for me, he's just a little worse, less cool Conference. So if we go into our tier list, he's gonna be a solid B. B plus, let's say. He's gonna be top of the line for the B. So he's not quite A because I don't like his campaign quite as much, but he's definitely up there. Alright, and next up we have Balthasar Gelt. His campaign is really fun. The new start position is Solan is quite interesting because you start with a fort in Winter Teeth Pass, and this is really fun because there's a bunch of orcs that come in and you have to defend it. So if you like defending forts, if you think forts battle are cool, then this faction is definitely for you. His starting units are pretty good. It's fun starting with an artillery. I personally like artilleries. I think they're really cool, so that's a bonus. His Battle Wizards bonus are really strong because Battle Wizards, you should have a mage in every single army because Winds of Magic is so powerful. So having that upkeep reduction and hero capacity is really good. So a solid all around. I think he's a really fun lord, and yeah, I love the new start position. You get the fighting more intensely, the orcs and the vampire count. So plugging it into our tier list, I'm going to put it in A, a straight solid A, right behind Conference. Great. And for the last Empire campaign, we have Marcus Wolfhard. And first controversial opinion, oh, I love this campaign. I love it so much. The fact that you start in the jungle with almost nothing, you cannot recruit advanced unit like it says, you only have the early units at first, and you need to do hit and run and ambushes. I love that. And personally, I'm a player that never does doom stacks. I always try and have armies that are balanced or that make sense lore-wise. So you have your infantry that are more numerous in numbers, and then your archers. I always try to have a theme in my armies, but they're never a stack of monsters. So I have no problem having cool armies that get reinforced by the empires, and you need to please the Elector Council, they bring you more armies, and you need to be careful fighting the orcs and the lizardmans in the new jungles. I really like this campaign, and don't even get me started into collecting the hunters and all that, so you get an elf and a crusader and all that. Great campaign. So I love the Empire, and I think this campaign is super challenging, and I love challenging campaigns. So of course his bonuses, they're cool. I love the ambush chance. His starting units are I love war wagons, even though they're really bad. I think aesthetically they look cool. So all that being said, Marcus Wolfhard for me is my first S rank campaign. Yeah, I just love his campaign so much. I think it's incredible, and it's challenging, it's fun, and you need to really use your head. And at harder difficulties, it's really tricky to like balance who to declare war with and who to fight and where to ambush. So it's a ton of fun for me. Definitely top tier. All right. So now we're moving on to the Dawi, the dwarves, and the first one here is Thorgrim Grudgebearer. So he's the King Lord, so as you can see he has upkeep reduction, diplomatic relationship, leadership buffs, the classic King faction effects. His starting units are pretty okay. He has an artillery and hammers, so it's pretty good. If you like dwarves, he's a really solid legendary lord, especially since their update. I think they're way more fun to play now. The grudges make way more sense as a system. The starting position is alright, especially since they expanded the map here to the east. Yep. And yeah, you fight the orcs a lot, but then you can fight Toon Kings or Vampire Counts or even Chaos, so it's pretty fun. The campaign is definitely a slow burn, so at the beginning you have a lot of slow fighting to do because you need to protect your first province. It takes a while to get going, but it's a decent dwarf campaign. So in general, I'm not the biggest fan of the dwarves. That goes in the book. No, please. No, I like them a lot. They're actually the first faction I played in Total War Warhammer 1, so that's something to say for it. And I will plug them in a solid B. So you guys might be like, oh my god, he's so low. I just really like the Empire. You'll see. B is pretty high. We'll fill in the bottom of this list eventually, so don't jump on it right away. So Grombendroll. Again, I think this guy doesn't work. I don't think his campaign works at all. First of all, I think the starting position doesn't work at all with the weapon strength bonus versus elves. You're supposed to be fighting elves, but there's no elves to fight near you. Like, the closest one is either Imric or the Wood Elves, like Dreicha in the north or the Wood Elves in Aethaloran. That doesn't make sense. Like, his starting units are cool, don't get me wrong, like Iron Drakes are really fun units and I like blasting charges. His bonuses, once again, is leadership. That's pretty good for your army, but dwarves don't have leadership problems as much as humans, so this is not as valuable to me. But I just don't like his campaign because it doesn't make sense to me. You should be fighting elves. You should start somewhere else in the world. So, he's just a shittier Thorgrim, but because he's a shittier Thorgrim and he really could use a better starting spot to fight elves, I'm going to put him in a low C tier. Yeah. Low C minus, maybe even D. We'll see. Maybe he's gonna go down to D because I really don't like his campaign as much as Thorgrim, and I think it's a real waste that he's not starting in a cooler area. Alright. Next up, we have Bellagar Ironhammer. So this guy, in Total War Warhammer 1, he was a really fun campaign, and you really felt the racing aspect between you and Skarsnik for Karak 8-Peak. But in the second game, you don't feel it as much because there's so much stuff going on around you. It's so complicated. And everyone has so much stuff that you feel like this campaign fell behind a bit. And it's more painful now than ever. You start with the 4 ghosts. So if you like using heroes a lot, that's really a good campaign. But to me, that's just an additional chore because like that's what makes up for it, is having those 4 heroes. But I don't like using heroes in general, so this is really tough, and the upkeep penalty is horrible. So it's a really challenging campaign, and I like challenging campaigns, but this one I think falls a bit short in the second game. I feel like it should need some improvement. The starting units are super boring. I mean, you got hammers that melt infantry, but the other 2 was like, eh. nothing interesting. So plugging into our tier, he's gonna again be in C, probably in front of Grombendroll, because I still enjoy the challenge of it and the concept, but I think it falls short a bit. Alright, so next we have Grim Iron Fist. In paper, I like his campaign a lot. I like the Slayers, they're pretty fun. They're like your anti-large, you're forced to have them, but I really like Thunderers. His bonuses, of course, they do make you build Slayers unit. So there's one reason why I do not like his campaign, and that reason is gonna come back. I do not like this part of the map. I do not like the north part of Kislev and Ostermark. Helpit, Prav, all of this area I think is not as enjoyable to fight in. You have to deal with Norska and Chaos very early. There's a lot of distances. I don't know, I just don't enjoy the gameplay of this part of the world as much. And so any campaign that forces you to start there, to me already loses some point, because I just don't like fighting there. I think it's not as interesting an area. If you go back to this guy, at least he starts the middle of the world, so he has a bunch of stuff. But here I don't like this terrain. I don't like the peak pass and these mountains here either. I think it's empty and it's just, you just tunnel through them, and yeah, I don't think they're as interesting. So if we're going to our tier list, I am going to be moving this guy again in the C's. Not as bad as Grombendroll, because at least his campaign has focus and Grombendroll doesn't, but definitely not a top one for me. Yeah. Alright, moving on finally to Torek Ironbrow. Finally, this is a really solid dwarf campaign. It's really fun, and they really knocked it out of the park with the last update. So the fact that the suitable climate is jungle makes it so you can start conquering a bunch of territory. You can go fight lizardmen, you can fight Toon Kings, Cavens, even Elves. There's so many Orcs, of course. There's so many variety here, and you have to collect the artifacts, and you get oat gold and all that. I like his gimmick that he uses catapults and bolt throwers instead of the cannons, so he makes those units better. I love that he starts with Iron Breakers, which are one of my favorite units because they're really cool, and I love the blasting mines. And yeah, I think this is what a dwarf campaign should be. A new start position, it's different. So going into the meter, straight A. Under the Empire still, because I really love my Empire, but definitely up there. Okay, next up we have the Orcs. After their update, the Orcs are actually really fun to play. I think that update was great. So let's get right into Grimgor Ironhide. So, of course, he has the classic king traits. So he has campaign movement bonus, upkeep reduction for some units, leadership bonuses. There you go, that's the king classic. So, the fact that you can confederate other orcs by defeating the leader, walls are now really powerful and fun. There's the scrap mechanic. Whoops, that's my phone. Let me just make sure. Yeah, I don't care about that. Okay. So yeah, the scrap mechanic, you start with black orcs and the Doom Diver catapult. So I think his campaign is really solid. The only part is the part of the world you're fighting. You need to fight a lot of dwarves early on, which is hard. It's a pain, but it's manageable. They're just, I think dwarves are among the least fun factions to fight against, the other one being Skaven. So yeah, but a really solid campaign. I really like the Orcs. So I'm going to plug it in IB for sure, right behind Volkmar, but ahead of Thorgrim. Solid campaign for the Grimgor. Cool, and next is Skarsnik. Okay, now this one, it's different. Skarsnik is definitely a hard campaign. It was already hard in Total War Warhammer 1, and it was one of my favorite campaigns in that game. I really liked the challenge. But in the second game, it's so insanely annoying and too hard that I just hate it. And once again, I don't like playing with heroes that much, and he really rewards that. And in the first game, because the map was smaller and stuff, it was more manageable, but in Mortal Empires it's so hard. It's so fun to play only with goblins. It's a really cool restriction, and starting with Arachnarok spiders is also fun, and there's so many cool strategies that you need to employ by using goblins. But he fell behind because his campaign is so hard, and you have so many new enemies, and like every faction around you is so strong. And yeah, his campaign is not as enjoyable as it was. I think it would require some kind of tweak to go back to what it was. So right now I'm going to put it on D, and it really pains me because I really like that campaign in the first game. It was one of my favorites, but in the second game, and I tried playing it twice since the Orc revamp, and it's too annoying. I just don't enjoy it. I just don't enjoy it. It's too annoying. So I wish it could be a bit. And it's fun because I little say that some campaigns are too easy, and that's gonna be a detriment. But in this case, it's too hard. It's too much of a chore. All right. Next up is Wurzag, that great green prophet. I love this campaign. I really like it. It's such a fun campaign because Wurzag and the Savage Orcs are really fun to play with. I love that you start with a giant. Giants are fun to me. They're not that good, but when you start with one, then you'll take it. I like that enemy hero action success chance is minus 50% because I don't like dealing with heroes. So the fact that I don't have to care about them and they're never gonna assassinate or annoy me too much is really cool. I like that stacking bonuses of Savage Orcs, and with his skill tree it enables you to have a really stacking Orc army that's super fun. He can inhabit a bunch of climates, so you can go pretty much anywhere you want. I have only praises for this campaign. You can invade the humans. Yeah, I love this campaign. I really do. I think it's one of the most fun ones. So in the meter here, I'm gonna put it in front of Volkmar, and yeah, just missing the A, but it's a super solid campaign, and I really do like it. Alright, Grom the Punch. What a campaign. Wow, this one is even better. The food mechanic is so fun. It's so fun to be collecting ingredients and all the crazy stuff you can do with them. The random buffs you can get to your army. His starting units are pretty fine, but I mean, trolls are cool, and the fact that you invade the elves donut, it's so fun. I really like it. It's super cool. So I'm all for invading the elves. So yeah, I think this is one of the best campaign they've done, and so easy A, over Geld but under Call Friends. This is really top of the line campaign. A plus for sure. And finally we have Azog, the Slaughterer. Now his suitable climate temperate is really good because it encourages you to invade the Empire, right? It's the classic human versus orc campaign, so that's a really good part of it. The problem is the location. As you guys know, I really don't like this part of the map. So if you can get out of it and get into the Empire southern and maybe even Bretonnia, like if you keep going south, it's a really cool campaign. But I just don't like where you start. I think it's super annoying. And his bonuses are kind of except the suitable climate, the other ones you barely notice them, which is a shame. And yeah, like the starting with goblin lobbers and trolls is fine, but I mean, I don't know, I don't like starting so far north. I don't enjoy that part of the world as much. So a point for is the bonus versus fighting, not the bonus but the incentive to fight humans. But apart from that, I'm going to have to put it in the IC. I really don't like that part of the world. What can I say? I just find it not as enjoyable. Alright, moving on now to the vampire counts. So first of all, we have Manfred. He has the classic king faction effects. So he has movement range, upkeep reduction, leadership bonus, It's classic. It's always like that. His starting position is okay. It's not fun having to fight dwarves, so if they ever declare you war, then your campaign sucks. Your starting Vargolf is pretty cool, but the other units are garbage, like the bats and the ghoul. Who cares? I think his campaign is quite meh. I mean, the vampire cards are good, but their last new thing was the bloodlines. And yeah, it's pretty a cool system and all, and it gives you crossbowmen or like cool caster lords and all that, but it's not great. Like, it could be better. And the blood kiss feels me like I need to use heroes to get them, and that annoys me. But yeah, I like the vampire counts. I always like their aesthetic and the idea that you're a rush faction. So going into the tier list, I'm going to plug this one right into the C's. Probably ahead of Bellagar, but not ahead of Azog. Yeah, I'm not a big Manfred fan. Moving on. Okay, next up we have Elman Gorst. Who? Why do you exist? His campaign is just a shittier Manfred. His bonuses are all garbage, like replenishment rate is not too useful for vampire counts. Corpse cards, who uses them? Me sometimes, but do I really want 3 ranks on them? Research rate, Poison, his starting units are weird. No. We are going to go right now and put this guy on D. Low D. He's not unplayable, he's just shitty and uninteresting. Just play Manfred instead. Alright, moving on. Vlad! Okay. Now this one is fun. Starting with Blood Knights, that's really cool because Blood Knights are cool. His bonuses are kind of weird, but I think he's a fun faction to play because he has interesting strategies. You can right away try and capture Castle Drakenhof. Vargeist are really fun because they're monstrous infantry that are flying. I like monstrous infantry, so I like Vlad a lot. I think he's the cool vampire count campaign. So plugging him in is gonna be right after Grimgor, but before Thorgrim. I think he's a really cool campaign. Great, moving on. Isabella, I mean, she's in my mind a worse Vlad. I really don't like that you really have to use vampires because that's her bonuses. She likes vampires and heroes. I think her starting units are straight garbage. Crypt Ghouls, and then Black Knight. I mean, weak cavalry unit. It's nothing interesting. I think she could have worked really well as a legendary hero, but as a legendary lord, I don't know. I would just play Vlad instead because it's the exact same start position. So I'm gonna put him low C down here. Okay. Moving on right away to Enric Kemmler. Now this is a really fun campaign, I think. The fact that the suitable climate mountain is pretty cool because you can be fighting orcs and dwarves and Skaven. The fact that he's immune to a lot of attrition is also pretty, it's a good quality of life. The fact that he has the big, I don't remember his name, the undead guy that he summons, that's cool because it's a really cool unit. And starting with the X-rates, I think they have a very distinct visual feel that gives Kemmler kind of a unique aesthetic. The fact that you fight Reikland or Bretonnia really fast is also fun, like it's a high action campaign. So this one is really going to be coming in at a solid B once again. I think I like Vlad more still, but this guy is a close second for sure. Okay.
My challenge?
Now we're going to move in Norska. Norska is garbage. In the first game it was a top tier campaign, it was really fun. But they completely messed up the balance in the second game. You keep getting invaded by Dark Elves, which is horrible. You cannot do anything, you cannot keep your territory, you don't have time to do anything. It's one of the worst campaigns I've ever played. It shows its age so bad. His starting units are cool. I love Skin Wolves. I love the Ice Chariots. I think he would be a great Legendary Lord. I like the start position. Like, if you could dedicate yourself to fighting the Nordland right away, it would be a fun campaign. But right now, it's shitty. It goes straight at F because I hate it. I think Norska are trash in the second game. They're really bad. They really need an update. They need an update so bad, please. I love the monster mechanic, the monster hunts. I love the Chaos Gods, and you have to choose whether you challenge Archaeon or you ally with him. They have so much potential. Their armies are so cool. They have the mammoths and all that, but their campaign is just too horrible. And well, if we go right now and quickly so I'm gonna plug this guy into F, boom. And if we go for Throg, I mean, to me, I personally like Wolfric a bit better, just because I like the Marauders and I like the Skin Wolves more than Trolls. His start position is also more annoying because you have to fight Dwarves from the start. So simply, he's gonna be worst, but still an F. So I mean, worst of the worst. Please fix Norska. Thank you. Moving on. Okay, next up we have Bretonnia. Luan Leoncoeur. I really like Bretonnia. I like their aesthetic. I like that they're like kind of the standard medieval army and they have to fight all these crazy monsters. And except Pegasus and Hippogriff Knights, everything they have is super standard. It's basically we are humans with horses and we beat up all the weird monsters. So this guy here has the classic king attributes, so movement speed, leadership buff, unit buff on some stuff. In this case it's against evil dudes, but still he's pretty standard. I like his starting units. Starting with a trebuchet is fun because you do not want as Bretonnia to build that building that enables you to build trebuchets, so it's fun to start with one. Knights of the Realm and Pegasus Knights are fun units. His start position is pretty cool. You can start a crusade versus the High Elves, Norska, even Dark Elves, the Empire, unite the rest of Bretonnia. You have a lot of options. You can take Marienburg really quickly. It's a fun campaign. It's definitely a great one, and I think if you're a Total War player that never played Fantasy before, but you played Medieval 2 or Shogun, definitely try this guy first. He's like the bridge, the gap between the two. So if you're not feeling too comfortable going out of your comfort zone and you wanna like try the new game but with a more with something more familiar, go with Luan Leoncoeur. I really like his campaign. He's going to be a straight up B, a high B, because I think Bretonnia is pretty fun. The chivalry mechanic is fun. So yeah, definitely a solid campaign. Alright, now we go to Alberic Bordello, de Bordello. So, his campaign is a bit weirder. I get that he's a C campaign, but I feel like Bretonnia is not really fit to be that. They're not a raiding faction because you get penalties for raiding. His bonuses are weird and I don't notice them too often. Like, you're supposed to do Knights of the Realms and Knights there, like, but I don't know. I never clicked with this guy. His starting units are not as interesting because you don't have the trebuchet. I mean, foot squires are nice, but they're not amazing infantry. That's not the strength of the faction. So to me, and his location is not as fun. I mean, it's better now that Grom starts not too far, but still, it's not amazing to me. So going on the tier, I will plug this guy in C, probably around here. Not as cool as Manfred and Azog, but I still like his gameplay better than Dwarves. Alright, so moving right in, we have the Fae Enchantress. Yes, I really like the Fae Enchantress campaign. It was my first Bretonnia one and the one I played the most. I really like the casualty replenishment rate here. because Bretonnia has casualty replenishment problems. It's one of the factions that I find that I'm waiting the most for my armies to regenerate. It's pretty slow, so this bonus is really useful for me. Early game, this peasant one is pretty good. Late game, you don't notice it. But the fact that you start with the Blessed Field Trebuchet, really good artillery, and the Grail Guardians, that's amazing. These are so cool early game. Big, super strong cavalry is really fun. I like her start position right next to the Elves. You can fight the Skaven south. There's the Orcs to the north. Yeah, I think her campaign is great. I really enjoy it personally. I think it's really fun, and so I'm going to plop her in right before Louen Leoncoeur. So yeah, a solid B+ for her. All right, and then finally we have Repense de Lioness. Wow, CA really knocked themselves out with these newest campaigns, because this one is even better than the Fae Enchantress. I thought that the water mechanic in the desert would be a drag, but no, it's super fun. I think it's super engaging, it makes sense, it's cool. The Crusaders that need their water supply, the questing knights, and the fact that they have bonus to peasant and questing knights is really cool. The foot squires, the Knights of the Realm, the fact that you have to purge the undead from the desert, it's a desert crusade. It's so fun. It's really fun. I really like her campaign. I think it's the best Bretonnia campaign. And so, here we go. A straight A. Good job to Repense for this good grade. I really do enjoy this campaign. Just under the top tier, I'd say, of A. But really close. It's definitely a really good one. Alright, next up we move to Orion, the Wood Elves. Now, I'm someone that really liked the Wood Elves aesthetic, and I played them even before their update. And now that they're updated, wow, they're great. They're really fun. Now, I think that Orion is not the best Wood Elf campaign. I don't know, I just don't enjoy him as much. I never noticed the Wild Hunt event that much. I think his bonuses are quite boring. And his starting units, I mean, the knights are, the Wild Riders are pretty fun, but I don't know. I just don't enjoy Orion as much. I don't like him as a legendary lord personally, playing as him. So, but I think the Wood Elves are a really fun faction to play, and so he's going to go in a straight solid B, probably around here. Yep, just under Grimgore, middle of the pack B, so a really solid performance, definitely. Okay, now we have Durtu. He's basically the same campaign. He's so close by, so the campaign looks a lot very similar. You fight orcs and dwarves a bit earlier, I find. Because you can just move across the mountains and fight those. I really like Durthu as a hero compared to Orion. I think it's really fun to have a big ass tree with a sword, really powerful. His bonuses, the fact that he's immune to attrition is fine, the rest is not too interesting, but I like tree spirits and tree mins and all that. So, all that being said, I think he's slightly better than Orion, but not by much, so it's simply gonna be like this, boom, and there we go. Alright, the Sisters of Twilight. So, first time this comes up, but I'm not a flying unit guy too much. I usually don't like them as much because I think they're a bit finicky. So I'm not inclined to build them a lot, and they're not my favorite unit. I like more a grounded army. But I really did enjoy their campaign. I think it was really fun to have a bunch of eagle Jews that like all had volley of corners. I think that was super fun. I like the new starting position, the Witchwood. I think it's pretty fun to fight here. And yeah, it was a fun campaign. The Forge of Dave was really annoying when they first came out, but now that they have the interface, it's super fun. I like the ammunition. I notice it because often when playing the Wood Elves, my units run out of ammunition, so this one I do like as a bonus. The Great Stag Knight is a super fun unit, so I really like the starting units here. So All this being said, I think this campaign is great, better than the other two, and so I'm going to plop her in IB, probably right here, just under the Fae Enchantress because I love my Grail Guardians, but solid B plus for sure. And finally, we have Dreicha. So Dreicha, I really love her campaign. I think it's my favorite Wood Elves campaign. As you guys might have noticed, I did not enjoy the vampire counts. I mean, I do like them, but if you look in the ranking, they're pretty low compared to other factions. And funnily enough, this Dreicha is kind of an hybrid because you use wolf and spider and you have quick replenishment. It's not like Raise Dead, but kind of like the creature from the forest. You can recruit them instantly. But man, Dreicha was super fun. The hero you unlock and you're fighting humans as an angry tree, and the color scheme and the visuals are great. And it's not too hard, but it's not so easy as the other Wood Elves campaigns. So the Wood Elves campaigns I found were super easy. I played them on Legendary and like it wasn't even like a problem. I can speedrun them. But the Dreicha campaign at least had some challenge and stuff. So I really like the Dreicha campaign. I think it's the best among all the Elves one, and so it's gonna be a straight A here. Underground the punch, I think, but still top of the line. Good stuff, CA, good stuff. Okay, moving on. The Beastmen, they're the mortal enemies of a lot of things. Wow. So, Beastmen are my favorite faction. I'm putting it up right now. Since game 1, since they came out, they always were my favorite faction because I love Minotaurs. I love the idea of a bunch of goatmen running down hills and rushing the enemies and destroying humans. So I love the Beastmen. I love them before their update, and now that they're updated, wow, they're great. They're so fun to play. It makes so much sense that their basic trash units are free and that all their units are free even though limited. I love the idea because, as you guys know, I like to build balanced armies, so I do not mind that they're limited. To me, it makes sense to have Army of Chaff with a few monstrous unit, and you can manage your units upgrade, you're ambushing, you're moving around, you're stealthy. The Hearthstones are so fun. They're so fun. Since the update, I played the Torox campaign, I played the Matagor campaign, and I played the Kazarak campaign. So yeah, I'm hooked. I really think they're amazing. And Kazarak I like Kazarak. I think it's fun, the Bestigor idea, and yeah, I think he's a really cool hero. I always loved him, and so I'm going to put him straight up in high B. Boom, there you go. Not quite an A yet, but damn, he's fun. Nah, you know what? No, what I'm talking about. It's a low A. It needs to be like at least around here. Like, I really love the new Beastmen campaign. I think CA really overdid themselves, and now the Beastmen are really what they should have been done. There you go. Here. Just under the trio of like super great campaign, but like he's right up there. Alright, Matagor now. Same thing, but a bit less, because I enjoyed Matagor, but not as much. I don't like the Harpies and Manticore. I don't like flying units, big surprise again. His bonuses are quite fun, but debuffing enemies I never quite noticed because the AI cheats so much in very hard or legendary. Oh, sorry, whoops, there you go. The AI cheats so much in legendary and all that, and yeah, so I don't really like Harpies and the rest of the bonuses. I don't like his starting position because as the Beastman I want to be killing humans. So when I play him, I just rush out to go fight the Border Princes. I ignore this shitty start position. But still, he's really fun. But so yeah, that's Matagor. So in the list, he's gonna be slightly under Kazarak, but high B for sure. There you go. Okay. Next one, Morger. Now Morger is technically the only campaign I have never played, and here's why. I did play it, but not since the remake, and I played it once and I didn't finish. Now why is that? because I love Minotaurs so much. They're my favorite unit in the whole game. And so back then, you couldn't build Minotaurs with him because they had such bad upkeep penalties, but now he doesn't have that anymore, so I cannot wait to try a new Morger campaign, and I'm sure I'm gonna like it. I really like the idea of him having a lot of chaos spawns, his casualty replenishment, all his bonuses are really fun. I really like them, I think they're solid. I really like this whole deal he has of fighting elves. I think that's really cool that he's immune to the elf stuff and that he's supposed to be fighting them. His starting units are pretty cool. I love all 3 of these units, and now that you can be building Minotaurs normally, wow, no complaints. So I cannot wait to actually do a Morger campaign in a real one. So I'm gonna plug it in right over Matagor because I think he's cooler and I like his abilities and his aesthetic and all that. So high B+ for sure. Alright, and finally we have Torox. Now Torox was incredible. Remember what I said? Minotaurs are my favorite unit? Well, there you go. He's the Minotaur guy, and you start with a Gorgon and Minotaur shields and harpies, but we don't talk about those. Wow, his river blood and his rampage mechanic is so fun, and like everything about this guy is cool. I love this campaign so much. It's everything a Beastman campaign should be and better because Minotaurs. The only problem for me is the starting location. I do not like this part of the map for 2 reasons. The first one, you're only fighting like Dark Elves and Skavens. I don't like what you're fighting here. You're encouraged, like you're kind of supposed to be fighting Dark Elves, and I don't like that. I mean, you start fighting Orcs, but they disappear quite quickly. And also, I always hated how this part of the map here is squished. And because like there's a border of the map and it feels so restrained and like you want it to complete the continent. It's so annoying. I really hate how they cut the map there, and it makes another lord in the list super unenjoyable to play because of this part of the map. So, but this is a minor complaint. This guy is the best campaign I've played in Total Warhammer 2. I've played him twice already. I've did 2 campaigns of this guy. I didn't play him in the Vortex, but two times in Mortal Empires. I love Torox. I think he's amazing. Good job, CA. The Beastman update is really incredible. Alright, that makes me really excited for Game 3. Because they're really been doing great on the design of these campaign. I can really appreciate them, and as some of you guys might know, I know something about game design. So yeah, good job on that one. Okay, moving on to Warriors of Chaos. Okay, here's the deal. I really wish to love this faction like the Beastmen before, but they're so shitty. Their mechanics are garbage. They're so bullshit to play. They're so uninteresting. It's so hard. Everyone hates you. Nothing works. So Archaeon, I mean, he's a cool hero and like his concept is cool. Just go Chaos Warriors. Chaos Warriors are cool. So if we're going to our tier list, we're gonna put him in low D. I'm thinking actually this is gonna be IF. I mean, it's unplayable. It's just unplayable. The Warriors of Chaos are really a chore, and if you're not working towards an objective, don't bother. Just don't bother. Like, they're straight up garbage. So yeah, let me move this so we don't have the ads. Okay. Alright, moving on. Kolek! I mean, Kolek is slightly better because he's really fun to play because you're a big burly dude, monstrous dude, and you have the Dragon Ogres, so there you go. Slightly better than Archaeon, and that's about it. Starts at the same spot, so boom. Right here in F, but a bit better. And finally we have Sigvault. Nice, Sigvault is Archaeon, but way worse. His starting units are really cool. 2 Chosens and Hell Cannons, that's A+. But his factions effect are garbage. They're horrible. He's probably the worst lord in the game for that. And so, boom, last. I hate you. I never want to play as Sigvault ever. I wish he had better mechanics, but he doesn't. So, that's it for game 1. We finished on a quite depressing note, all of these guys here. And I think Beastmen would be quite close if it weren't for their amazing last update. But thankfully, we can enjoy them being up here in the ranking. So these are the ranking for the game 1 lords. And now we're going to be moving into game 2. Okay, now let's start game 2 with the High Elves. Tyrion! So, I'm not a High Elf fan. So, first disclaimer, I am not a High Elf fan. I've never been. I do not like the faction in general. I think their aesthetic is super cool. I just don't like the units. A big part of it is the dragons. The fact that their only big endgame units are dragons, and as you guys know, I'm not a big flying unit fan. And dragons especially, I mean, it's only a bunch of dragons variations, so I feel like I need more. The phoenixes, again, flying units. Dragon princes are cool, but they're not the only cool calves. There are grail knights, there's blood knights, so yeah, I think they fall flat on high-end unit, but I like their aesthetic. I like how they look. So he has the king effect, so diplomatic bonus, upkeep reduction, recruit rank, classic lord, a bit different, but like he's the king, and he's the king of the High Elves. Look at that. His start is okay. I think it's too easy. So if you want to play the High Elves, start with this guy. He's pretty simple, and if you're new to Total War Warhammer 2, start with this guy. He's a good one. This guy and Car Friends are definitely top tier lords to start with. And yeah, his starting units are okay. Decent infantry, decent cavalry, and decent chariots. So yeah, pretty good, but nothing spectacular. But that's about it. So if we go into our list, where will I put this guy? I mean, I really don't know. He's probably gonna be low B or high C. I really think the High Elves need something more. They don't have any interesting faction mechanic. And Tyrion himself is quite bland. So yeah, there you go. High C, C+, C++. Not quite B. I really think High Elves need a more WoW unit. Even their artillery are boring. Like, they need something WoW factor. They do not have a WoW factor to me, and that's why he's so low. And Techless is not very different. I think I like his starting units a bit better. Swordmasters are pretty cool. The Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers are fun. His starting position is way harder because you don't have all your allies around you, so that's a plus also. I think it's a bit more challenging, more interesting. You're fighting a whole bunch of factions in Illustrable. And so, going into our list, he's going to be right over Tyrion. Not quite B yet. Don't worry, we'll get to B in... we'll get to B rank with the High Elves, but not this guy. Alarielle though, there we go. She's really fun. Alarielle, big bonus is the hybrid units. Oh man, these are fun. The Treekin, the Treeman, I think those had a lot of much needed variety in the roster. Her mechanics are alright. I think it's fun to have the glow thing on your cities and having to control Old One. I think all of that is fun and engaging. So yeah, I think she's better already, and going into our meter, she's going to straight in the upper B's, I'd say. Probably around here. Yeah, around here, mid B. Not quite Vogmar, but yeah, pretty fun nonetheless. Cool. So we are back now, and we go to Aleph Anar. Okay, this guy was really fun too. His faction is harder because you're in the continent. You're fighting a lot of Dark Elves because they're coming from the north, and there's a Morathi right next to you. There's a Lizardman south, so he's really action-packed, and if you like that, then he's the lord for you. You need to use heroes a lot, I think, and like I felt like it, and that's not my thing once again. So I prefer it not being that hero intensive, but it's definitely a fun campaign, and in the ambush chance is really fun. The chance on attack ambush. So yeah, I think he's among the cooler high elf. And plugging in the meter once again, he's gonna be somewhere here. Probably under Alariel, just because he doesn't have the treatment, so around here. Yeah, right here. That's where Aleph Anar is going to be. Now, next up, we have Eltharion. Now, I really like his start position. Once again, diversity. You're fighting orcs, you're fighting Toon Kings, you're fighting humans, you're fighting whatever you want to fight almost. His starting units are interesting. I like the War Lions and the Arcane Phoenix. Those are cool units. His mechanic personally didn't grab me as much. The whole dungeon and also building like secret cave building stuff. I felt like there wasn't any good enough payoff, and that's about it. Like, it really needed a better payoff. But if not, yeah, it was a fun campaign, and much better than the default High Elves one for sure. And so, if we go in the list, Eltharion is going to be right around. Probably around here actually. I think he was definitely worth it and definitely fun to play. More fun than the normal High Elves. Okay, finally we have Imrik. Now Imrik was cool. He was a cool campaign because yes, his start position is great. You start surrounded by a bunch of enemies, no allies, but you can still get your base at the donut with an event later. You start with Dragon Princess, good shit, with a dragon. Yes, I'm not a super big fan, but dragons are still cool, especially early game. He can go to mountains, which makes him the best High Elf versus Dwarf hero. So if you want to do a campaign trying to replicate the War of the Beard, that's the guy for you. It's definitely really cool. All the missions with the dragon is fun. He's all around amazing. I think he's incredible. I really enjoyed his campaign. It's kind of crazy that he's free and that he was way more interesting to me. So easy, a high A, probably around here, just under Kazrak and all the other three, but a really fun campaign. I really enjoyed that one a lot. Cool. Moving on to the Lizardman. So first off, we have Mazda Mundi. Alright, second disclaimer. Lizardmen are my second favorite factions, so I guess I have a thing for beasts, for thingmens? Huh. Anyway. So Lizardmen, I really like their aesthetic, I like their units, I like that their infantries are monsters, and they have monstrous infantry, and they have dinosaurs and a bunch of different dinosaurs. Their armies are really customizable with different dinos. I love them. I love their aesthetic. I love the laser shooting dinos and the lightning shooting dinos and all that. I'm a fan. Mazda Mundi is definitely one of the... He's pretty fun. His start position is great, I think. You're fighting a bunch of stuff. He starts with Temple Guards and Croxigors and even a Feral Bastelodon. I don't notice these bonuses as much. I mean, the upkeep reduction, yes, but the other ones, I mean, are kind of eh. Rights cost reduction, I mean, okay, but I still think he is great, and his spells are great, so he is fun to level up. So plugging him in, he's gonna be in a B for sure. Probably around here. Yeah, around here. Not quite as fun as the new Beastmen's. but definitely pretty high up. Now the problem is that the Lizardman faction mechanics are pretty boring. So if I'm going to be really objective, I think he would be lower, probably, you know, like around here. But because I personally really love playing as a Lizardman, he's going to go a good solid B+ right here. But keep in mind, the Lizardman faction mechanics are really bad. Okay, they're really bad. They're not good mechanics, but that's what it is. I still love him. I still love the Beastmen. Okay, now Krogar. Krogar, fun fact, is the first legendary lord I ever played for Total War Warhammer 2. He was my first one, and I'm sad to say he's just a worse. Like, he's not really interesting. His faction effect, I mean, is good for economy, but it's nothing special. It's not interesting. His bonuses buff basically makes your army really strong. So if you want to play a Lizardman for the first time, play this guy, because the leadership buff to everything makes it really easier for new players, as I've said before. But that's about it. I mean, his starting units are nothing interesting. Cold One Spear Riders are Ferostagadon is pretty cool, but Saurus, okay. His starting position got better with the addition of all the guys up here, like the Dragon Islands and the Death Matter Sneaks, something like that. But I still don't. I don't think he's as interesting. I mean, he's cool visually, but his campaign is lacking. And unlike Mazdamundi, that is a caster lord and has a really dynamic start position, this guy starts in a corner, and you don't really have a lot of options. So he's going to be somewhere around C here, not quite B yet. And the faction mechanics of the Lizardmen's really dragging them down. Okay. Moving on, we have 10-in-1 or 10-in-1 or whatever you pronounce it. Okay. I really wanted to love this guy. To me, this guy is the Skarsnik of the second game. He's supposed to be a really tough gimmick one where you are supposed to just use skinks and small creatures and like dinos and skinks, but man, is his mechanic butchered. Like, if you you're supposed to be sacrificing and working around all this gimmick, and all you get are Regiment of Renown that you normally just get by leveling up, and then your ultimate reward is what, one spell? And I mean, it's a cool spell, but you wish it was more. This campaign really hurts my soul. I've did it 3 times, I think, so on hard difficulties. I wanted to like it, but I think they really butchered his mechanics, and I wish they update him. And for that, I'm going to put him straight into D, ahead of Skarsnik, but you know, it's a D. He needs work, and I do not like playing as him. Okay. Next we have Tic-Tac-Toe. I'll give them credit where credit is due. His starting position is really fun because it's different. It's in the middle of the desert. But I don't like the flying unit gimmick, and it doesn't work as well as the sisters, in my opinion. Yes, they get a new ability, but it's more intensive. It's harder to use. His bonuses are funky, and I mean, the Rite of Tsunki is really fun to use, where yeah. It's really fun to use, but still, that's not enough to save the faction to me, and I do not like the flying hero gimmick, and so I'm gonna put him in. And because Lizardmen don't have good faction mechanic, once again he's gonna be pretty low. Here we go. Elman Gorst is still the worst one here, but this guy is slightly better, but not by that much. So Tic-Tac-Toe, down you go. Alright, Nakai. Oh, this one hurts, especially after playing the most recent Beastman campaigns. So once again, guys, I really wanted to love this campaign. I love Nakai. I love Kroxigors. I think they're cool, they're big, they're like Minotaurs but scaly. I really think that this campaign could have been amazing, but it doesn't work. Your vassal computer doesn't work. The start position had a lot of potential, but It's too close to Norsca and it's not fun to play, and like you just end up leaving that area as soon as you can because it's a chore. So yeah, I think he had so much potential, but right now his campaign just doesn't work, and so I'm going to put him straight up into F. He's the top of the F, but not by much. F plus if I'm being generous, but that's not saying a lot. I think he needs so much work, and especially after we've seen what CA can do with the Beastmen. It really hurts your soul to see him in such a story state. Alright, Gorok! Now, I think I lied earlier when I said that a Krogar was the first Lizardman you should play. Actually, this guy is so easy. Lord Croak, the caster, is so insanely powerful. There's no way, like, to lose a battle if he's on your side. So I think his bonuses are quite nice. The idea that he's really defensive, but he starts in a great spot, like a great city with an amazing lord. His starting units are boring as hell, but remember, he has Croak, and Croak is incredible. So he's really middle of the run. Nothing incredible, but he's definitely something. So he's gonna be right here after Vogmar, but in front of these guys. He's okay to play. Lord Croak is really fun, but it's a really easy campaign. So don't expect too much out of it. But there you go. That's Gorok. And finally we have Oxyotl. Wow! An Owen Wilson impression. No. So. This campaign is amazing in Mortal Empires. It's so cool. Good job, CA. It's really fun. It's the most fun Lizardman campaign I've played. I love the idea of you teleporting around fighting chaos and like having to patch up chaos around the world, and then the Chaos Invasion starts. And when I played this guide, I played with Chaos Invasion setting turned on at Legendary. Oh, this was so much fun hunting all the chaos and not caring about the diplomatic and where you go and all that. And I think this guy pulls off the 10-in-1 concept of having a skink army way better. Wow, A plus, and as I just said, he is going to be an A plus. Boom. I think right under Grom the Punch, but damn, he's up there. He's so fun. I really enjoyed Oxyotl, and good job, CA. Great work on that one. Alright, moving on. Okay, now we have the Dark Elves with Malekith. Okay, so mirroring what I said for the High Elves, I do not like the Dark Elves, and they are my least favorite faction. Which you might say is weird, because the fact that I criticized the High Elves for was the lack of cool Legion units. And I think the Dark Elves are way better at that with the Hydra. They have less dragons and they have more monsters like the Charybdis and the Hydra. But I cannot really say why. I never enjoyed the Dark Elves. I think their aesthetic doesn't talk to me as much as the High Elves, which are really martial and cool. I think the Dark Elves are just edgy and kind of not as interesting. So yeah, and I do not like that part of the world, the Hiron Mountain, the Chill Road, this kind of area. I've never enjoyed it as much, and again, it feels squished, and yeah, I just don't like that spot. And so Malekith just comes in kind of because even his bonuses are weird. They're not too interesting. I mean, the loyalty recruit is nice, I guess, but in general, I do not enjoy the loyalty mechanic a lot, so that's not a big plus. It makes it less annoying. But here you go. Right here in the C category for Malekith. So yeah, it's not a bad campaign, it's just not my cup of tea. I just like so many other campaigns better. Alright, now we have Morathi. Now her campaign is way cooler, because she started with a War Hydra and she starts south. And here she can fight a Lizardman and the High Elves really early, so I think her campaign is really action-packed, and like you have to fight way more, and that's more fun. Again, the squished map I really hate, but the rest I think is pretty cool. So I think our campaign is more interesting, and so she's gonna be somewhere here along the low Bs. Not the best, but already pretty decent and better than Malekith for me. Alright, Crone Elibral now. I never got hooked on this one. I've played it once, and the Blood Voyage really wasn't my type of deal. I finished the campaign when it came out, but I don't know. The Death Knight idea also never really got me hooked, and I didn't find this lord interesting too much. And the starting location, again, I don't like that part of the world. I don't know. I didn't find it as interesting, and so again, this one will fall quite low. Probably around here. Yeah. There you go. Not the best. Okay, Lokir. Now, strangely enough, I enjoyed my Lokir playthroughs. I played him at least twice that I can remember. I think he's really fun that he's in the jungle. Once again, it's like Teclis. It's more challenging. You have a lot of variety in what you're fighting. You can take the sea and go fight the Toon Kings, or even try and explore and go north. I liked Black Orcs, so I like that he has a lot of them. I think they're cool, and I wish they were more relevant. So, not incredible, but I enjoy it more than a few of these lords. So he's gonna go, I think, right here. I enjoy it more than Morthy, but not more than that. And actually, yeah, I'm gonna move out these vampire dudes. I think I still enjoy these guys better than the Dark Elves, but close. These guys are close, right? Yeah. Okay. Moving on, Malice. Okay, another Dark Elf gimmick I did not like. I do not like the focus on a single unit. I think this campaign could be very cool, and I like the start position and the dual start idea. I like his starting units. I like that his climates are really suitable for a lot of things, so that gives you a lot of options. I just hate having to deal with the demon and stuff. I really do not enjoy that mechanic, and I wish it could be less of like a pain in your butt to always have to manage that. So yeah. So this guy, we're gonna plug him probably around. I wish they could remake that. I actually really didn't like the demon mechanic. I wish it could be better, but it isn't. And I think they need to rework that. I'm gonna put him with the need to rework kind of lords. So these guys, because the Lizardmen factions are boring. This because they don't work, but this guy, he needs some rework on his campaign. He's not unplayable, but really I did not enjoy his campaign. Now Rakarth, though, this one was cool. I really like the starting position. Like Nakai, he has a lot of potential. This one really pays off because you go fight the humans and Bretonnia pretty fast. You're collecting monsters. You start with a War Hydra. The monstrous spend missions are really fun and all that. So this one is really cool. I really enjoy this one. So this one is going to be straight right here. B plus for the Dark Elf Rakarth. Not quite an A, but close, and right under the Beastmen, which I remind you are my favorite faction. So great stuff here. Good job. Okay, and now we'll move to the Rats. So as I said, I do not like the loyalty mechanic, but I do like Skaven much more than the Dark Elves. I wish the loyalty mechanic wasn't as hard to manage, to me at least. I don't know why I have a hard time managing it. Maybe I need to play them more, but I mean, I played it quite a lot. I played most of these guys more than once. The default Skaven, though, are, to me, really bad. At least they have Undercity now, so when the game came out, it was kind of horrible. But they're still pretty shallow to me. I think Queek especially really needs a lot of work. He's so plain. He's so boring. He has a Warp Lightning Cannon on starting unit. The other two you don't really care about. His bonuses are but man, he is boring. Yeah. I can't justify any more than a D plus here. I think there's nothing there. Why would you play Queek when you can play so many other Skavens? Like, his start position makes it really tough. He doesn't have an easy start at all. You're fighting dwarves, orcs, Toon Kings, lizardmen, but it's not enjoyable. You don't have good settlements or anything. You're in the middle of like enemies. He's a challenging faction, but he needs work. He definitely needs work, and I think his gimmick doesn't work. Does he even have a gimmick? I guess get back Karak 8 peak, but it's not integrated as much as the other two. So yeah, I think this guy is, I don't know. It doesn't quite make it for me yet. Lord Scroll though, this one is more interesting because he has all the plague stuff, and they have an update. Like a long time ago, they had an update to make them better, and yeah, it was pretty enjoyable. So Lord Scroll is pretty fun to be spreading plague around. Plague Claw Catapults and Rat Ogres and even Plague Mods are all cool units to start with. The location, once again, super challenging. You have a bunch of different guys you're fighting: Vampire Calls, Dark Elves, High Elves, Lizardmans. Yeah, I think that variety is pretty cool. So that definitely is some points for Lord Scroll. He's still far behind the other DLC, and we'll get to those. So yeah. Lord Scroll will get a mid C, I'd say, right around here, under the two Hells guys and Krogar, but overall these other guys. Okay, now we are going for Tretch Creventail. Ugh, he's like a Queek, but worst, in a part of the world that I like even least. Remember, I do not like this area of the map as much. You're fighting Dark Elves, and that's about it, and some High Elves, and oh god, I hate this guy. Why do you exist? You're like Elman Gorst, but Skaven. They're like long lost brothers. So yeah, I think this campaign really needs more work because it's nothing interesting. So, moving on. Okay, now this one is cool. I really like it. Ikit Claw campaign. And the Forbidden Workshop is super fun. His starting units are blast. I really love Rattling Gunners and Warplot Giselles. I always building. Doom Rockets are crazy powerful and crazy fun. I like weapon teams. I like artillery. Wow. The start position is amazing because you're fighting humans, Bretonnia, you can fight dwarves and elves, you can fight all kinds of things. It gives you so much freedom to go where you want. And at the same time, Skavenblight is such a powerful settlement, so incredible. I really love this faction, and my one complaint is it's way too easy, even on Legendary. I think it's kind of a walk in the park because of the Doom Rocket and all these mechanics. So Ikit Claw is going to be a high B for sure, right about here, I think. Yep, he's definitely a top tier. Oh shit. I'm gonna show that again. So I'm gonna put him right top of the B, just short of A, and you'll see a Skaven that gets A, funnily enough. But yeah, this guy, he's missing A because he's way too easy. I wish they would balance the campaign a bit better. But yeah, I think it's great nonetheless, and it's really fun. Okay, Death Master Snitch now. His mechanic is not as fun for me as the Forbidden Workshop, which is simpler, but I think easier to use. This one requires a bit more playing around and stuff, but it's still pretty fun. This one I do hate though, the non-Eshin recruitment cost. It makes getting all the cool units more expensive, like the Rat Ogres, the what's the name? The Mutant Rat Ogres and all that. Like a bunch of units are so expensive now, and yeah, he's like the sneaky guy, but his mechanic is still very fun, and his start position is super fun. I like the start position, and in game 3, when there's ogres and chaos dwarfs and chaos, this start position is going to be incredible. But for now, it's not the best, it's not the worst. He's probably gonna be low B, around here. There you go. Right between the vampires, so he's a low B, but he's still pretty fun. And finally we have Throg the Unclean. Now the Flesh Laboratory is incredibly fun. I enjoyed it so much. It's the Forbidden Workshop but better. And while the Forbidden Workshop should be like everyone should have it. All the Skaven should have it by default. The Flesh Laboratory is really unique, and you feel that it's unique to this guy, and it's super fun. And the units he's building is fun. The fact that you empty the pit and you get a bunch of units and then a bunch of modification, it's super fun. Now, I don't like this part of the map, as you guys know from before. I really hate it, but it makes up for it because this campaign is so fun, and even though it's really hard and I do not like this part of the map, I will still put him in the A's. It's gonna be the low A's, but not low A's, more like mid A's, right about here. Actually, no, right about here. Yeah, so he's definitely top of the line. I think Throg is super fun, and I really enjoyed that campaign. Cool. So we're gonna be moving on to the final two factions, the two DLCs. Alright, first off we have the Vampire Coast with Luther Archon. Now, Vampire Coast are among my favorite factions. I really like their aesthetic, the kind of gun old ship sea stuff I think is super fun. But Luther Archon I don't really enjoy that much. I think his aesthetic is cool, his start position is pretty cool because it's Lustria, and I like the challenge and the variety that's here. But the campaign of the Fractured Mind, I mean, I enjoyed it a lot the first time, but then not as much the other campaigns I played. And then the starting units to me are boring. The deck droppers and Voted Corpses, like, why? I mean, Mourngulls are pretty fun, but that's about it. So by the virtue of being a Vampire Coast, he's definitely gonna rank up pretty high still, but he could be higher. So I'll probably put him right about here. So right in front of Deathmaster Snitch, but not top of the line for sure. So that's where Luther Archon is gonna be. Noctilus though, now this guy is great. Why? Well, Necrophex Colossus are incredibly cool. Death Guard are a great unit to start with. I love that the Galleon Graveyard is so hard to take. You can just defend it so easily, which means you can simply go wherever you want and not have to defend it as much. So you can go plundering Estelia, you can go where Luther Archon starts, but you don't have to stay there. You can go to the High Elves, you can go to the Toon Kings, you can go anywhere you want. And the war missions are pretty fun, so yeah. I think this guy is the quintessential Vampire Coast Lord, and so he's gonna be a for mid A. So a solid A, not A+, but not A-, good solid A. I really enjoy Noctilus, I've played him a ton. Alright, next we have Aranessa Saltspike. I think her weird gimmick of hating Norska is weird because she's so far away from Norska. The starters and parts are alright if you want to play that, but I didn't feel them as different. It's not like the Wood Elves units that Alariel gets, like the Treemans. It's not as interesting having these units. The deck gunners are pretty fun, and you wish that she had more human units and that she was... Like, it's kind of weird that she has so many undead because she's not even supposed to be a vampire, so, like, why does she have all the zombies? It feels weird, but her campaign is pretty fun. You can be fighting the Tilea and all that, and once you deal with this area, you can start going south or north. You get a lot of freedom. It's not as good as Noctilus, but it's still a great campaign, so she's probably going to be high B over here, just over Altarian, but not as high as Mazamundi. There we go. And finally, we have Silustra. Now, at first glance, she looks really weird, but man, I enjoyed Silustra. Again, I do not like the loyalty thing, so the fact that she has loyalty +2 is really good for me. Gets rid of loyalty issues. I like Mourngulls, I think they're really cool. I like that she starts with a cannon, and I like her starting position. I think it's really unique. You're fighting lizardmen, orcs, humans, high elves, whatever you want, so you get a lot of freedom, and it's fun that you need to try and get control of Lothern, the high elves capital. So I do enjoy her campaign a lot, and I think it's an easy top of the rank B here, a solid B+ over here. And finally, we have the Toon Kings. Again, I love the Toon Kings. I think they are amazing. I think they're one of the best designed factions. And we start with Cetra. Now, Cetra is so fun. The Camarian War Sphinx as a starting unit, the fact that you start in Camry in the middle of the desert and you have to unite all the desert kingdoms. It's a great campaign. It's a great campaign. There's not much to say how amazing it is. You can go pretty much anywhere, and it's gonna be a solid A over here. Over or under Noctilus? Man, that's a tough call. Over. Yeah, I really like his campaign. Super enjoyable. His bonuses are pretty standard, but the Camarian War Sphinx early game makes it super fun. Now, if we go back to Katap, this one sucks. And why? Look at the start position. The stupid Black Spine Mountains, the squishiest part of the map. It's so ugly to look at. It's horrible. I would love for it to be nice, like in the Vortex campaign where he starts in the islands and all that. Only that change, expanding the map a bit further west, and already that I would love this campaign more. But I hate this part of the map because that's how squish it is. It looks horrible. And then you get me started on where he is. He has no allies. Everyone hates him. You have to fight Dark Elves and Lizardmen, and now you have to fight Torox probably. Torox starts pretty close, and you also have to fight Wood Elves. As a Tom King, it makes it so hard. His campaign is extremely difficult. I find. I really hate it. I wish he didn't start there, or I wish that the map would change for the map to be cooler here. The only thing I really like about him is the Hero Titan, which is one of my favorite units aesthetically. But that's about it. I really dislike this campaign. I think it requires works on the campaign map, if only. So he's going to go straight into the D's. Probably top of the D's, but still a D nonetheless. There you go. Top of the D's. That's not a big achievement, but that's what you're getting. Nothing more, nothing less. So, alright. Two more. Now we have High Queen Khaleda. Her start position is alright, like Krogar. I do not enjoy it as much, but it's better now that the new area to the right has been added, like the Dragon Eyes and all that. You still wish you had a bigger rivalry with vampire counts, like the Lamian Queen you wish was there. What's her name again? Neferati. So yeah, I think she's missing something to be cooler. Her gimmick of ammunition and all that is fine, but you don't notice it that much. Sepulchral Stalkers and Necropolis Knights are pretty cool. So she's pretty fine, but I never enjoyed her as much as Cetra. And for that reason, she's going to go in the B's, probably around here. Yeah, under Vogmar, but over these guys here. So she's definitely fun. Tom Kings are still fun, but her start position and her bonuses are not as interesting to me. And finally, we have Archaeon the Black. Now, I think Archaeon the Black gimmick of having vampire counts unit really doesn't work. Because unlike the tree men and all that, these guys you don't care about them. Who cares about crypt ghouls and bats? Ugh. No, these units are weak because you can even buff them really with your technology and all that. So you don't really want to recruit them late, and they're really uninteresting. I think you get rates later, like the rate knight. So that's already something. But these guys, like early game, it's so uninteresting. The Tomb Scorpion is cool though. And I like his start position a lot because it's a bit more like Cetra. So you're in the desert, you're taking over the desert, and that's pretty fun. So I like him more than High Queen Khaleda, but not by much. And I really wish that his vampire gimmick would be cooler than what it currently is. So actually, I'm gonna put it right next to her. I think he's cooler than her, but not cooler than all these other guys. Alright, oh damn, I wasn't showing it. So yeah, I'm going to put him right over here. Right over Khaleda. Wow, we finally got through it. This was a really long video, but I really wanted to make this list complete. So if we go over them, we have, first of all, my two favorite campaigns. We have Torox and Wulfric. I love the challenge of Wulfric. I love the fact that he's stranded. And Torox, I just love Minotaurs and I love Beastmen. Then we have the A campaigns. These are all campaigns. I think their campaign mechanics are great. They're really well done. They're engaging. They're fast, and it makes you want to play more and to really experiment with what you can do. So there you go. These are the solid straight A's. Then we have the B's. The B's, well, they're buzzing. Oh, I'm so sorry. So the B's, well, they're the middle of the pack, but high. They're still good. It's Total War. It's good quality. So they're all campaigns that I really enjoy, that I think are still solid, that they're representative of their faction, and like a lot of the lower Bs are like representative, like this is how you play the faction, and yeah, Bs are solids, are solid campaigns. Then we have the Cs. Now the Cs are campaigns that are not quite up to be, like they have some annoying elements, or I think they're subpar experiences from their counterpart in B. So you can see here, like let's say Isabella and Vlad, or Grombendroll and Grimm. So I think they are lacking something. They're not as great as they could be, or their faction is lacking something. Like you can think of Krogar. I think the Lizardmen really need some more spice. Alright, finally we have the D. The D is the campaigns that are for me straight unenjoyable, but not unplayable. I still played them. I played Cadep like 3 times because I really wanted to make it work, because I like the Eurotide start, but it's too hard, it's too annoying, there's nothing there really, or their mechanics, in the case of 10 in 1, are like you wish they were good, but they're not, and it makes you frustrated of using them. So there you go. And finally the F tier. These ones are just straight up bad. These ones really do not work at all, and it infuriates me, because they could be good, and you saw how the Beastmen were, but they need work. They need work. The Warrior of Chaos and Norska are absolute trash. They're unplayable almost. Like I obviously played all of them for the achievements and stuff, but I really hate them. Actually, you know what? Sigvault I never played in Total War Warhammer 2. I only finished a Sigvault campaign in the first game. In the second game I never picked him up again. It's not worth it. Nakai, I wish I could love him, but I don't. So there you go. That's my list. I hope you guys enjoyed. This was a long one, but I really wanted to make this video, and I'll catch you all guys later. Have a nice one.